to the Business and Bubbly podcast. This is the place for women in business who are on the journey of building their big ideas and want to have fun along the way. It's for those of us who also know we aren't meant to do business or life alone. Hi, I'm Charity Majors, your host and the founder of Business and Bubbly. Think of this kind of like the can I pick your brain chats that you've always wanted to have with those who are doing epic things, plus business besties, hype girls, and getting into massive action towards your next big idea all in the same place. Oh, and bubbles, because if you're not having fun along the way, you're not doing it right. Together, we'll unlock what it means to be seen, known, heard, and championed all along the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and being a woman in business building big dreams. Each week, I'll bring you a quick sip business tip, as well as interviews from top experts that make you feel like you're getting bottle service for your business. We're having the raw and real conversations and chatting about all the things, the messy middle, the pivots, scaling, the good days and the bad days, because here we do real. It's where we can work hard, play hard, cry it out, and dance it out all at the same time without being judged. This is a place where we are in the arena together and we are each other's biggest fans because most of us have enough comments from the cheap seats. It's where our too much is par for the course and where the gaps of our not enough are filled in by the other epic women that are around us. It's where we can be unapologetic about the mission we are on, about the big dreams on our heart, and the business we are building without having to be perfect or have it all together, or even pretend to. It's a supportive community where business is being done amongst like-minded women, because when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. It's a place where you have the support around you to get out of your comfort zone and go after your big ideas, because even when you fail forward or when you reach the top, you know it won't be alone. Also, if you know anything about me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with creating platforms that lift up other women to be seen and heard and known. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite you to list your business on our directory called Find Women in Business. All you've got to do is text the word directory to 833-231-8098, and I'll text you the link back to get your free listing. This is also a great way to connect with other women in business from around the world, so definitely check it out. And now let's get to the good stuff. Grab a glass of your favorite beverage, Prosecco, bubbly water, or whatever your flavor is, and let's dive in. Are you with me? Here we go. Hello, friend. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Charity Majors, and I am excited that you are here with me for a few moments. This is an episode of what I like to call a quick sip. So just kind of your, come either get inspiration or some quick tips. It's not going to take you an hour to listen to these episodes. They are little quickies that just kind of give you either some insight or some how-to or some kick your booty into action type of stuff. And they're some of our fan favorites. So here we go. Today we're actually going to chat a little bit about what it looks like to share a transformation or a result that someone got in their business. Now, if you are a woman in business, obviously you're listening to this, and a lot of times we can kind of think of well, what do I share on social media? Or a lot of times, and this is kind of old school marketing, but people are still talking about what are called inclusions of their products or services. So this is what's included. And this, you get item 1 and item 2, and this, you get 27 balloons, or you get, 17 coaching calls or whatever that might mean for you and for your product or service, right? Instead of the actual result or the transformation that happens because of the product or service that you are offering, right? Maybe you're an esthetician and you are offering skincare. Well, instead of talking about, the 7 bottles of lotions and topical things that people get and what they do with them, what is the result that someone gets? Like, what's the transformation? And so I actually want to talk a little bit about some of the different, like, really great questions and things that we can share when it comes to sharing about the results, when it comes to sharing about kind of this aha moment or this epiphany, that as we learned what it is that we've learned and the results that we personally have gotten. I know there's a lot of coaches out there who, like, a lot of times they share results that they got from their personal transformation, and they're able to implement that with their clients or with their customers, or again, maybe you are in the, fitness world and in the nutrition world, and, you found some really great products that work for your clients. Well, you're not going to necessarily talk about, the 7 shakes you have to drink and the 14 vitamins and the, the 2 elixirs and that kind of thing. You want to talk about the results and the aha moments and the epiphanies that happen as a result of utilizing this product or service. Okay. So this is where, like, instead of talking about like I said, the inclusions, the 4 different things that are included and how you use it and right, this step-by-step process of these, like, technical things that tend to be, what Russell Brunson likes to call is, like, techno babble. Right? It's this techno babble that nobody really understands. I remember when I used to be in the health and wellness world, and I was a holistic nutrition expert, and I personally, like, totally geeked out on all of this holistic nutrition stuff and what all these different, like, herbs and elixirs and oils and all this different stuff would do. And I would personally, because it was like a passion of mine, would get so excited, and I'm like, yeah, like the Shilajit and the adaptogens, like all this stuff, and people, like, that is like technobabble to people. They didn't understand any of that verbiage. And so it wasn't until I started talking about, well, actually, when your body isn't able to handle stress, we create free radicals. And this stuff, like the free radicals, like, damages your cells, and it makes you feel older, and, like, your skin looks older, and you're not able to handle stress as much, and cortisol. And so as I started talking about the result that people would get from taking these different, this different elixir that I actually still take and love. But if you take this, then your body is actually able to, like, it combats the effects of stress. Right. And so people were like, oh, that makes sense. Like, none of the technobabble, none of the technical terms, the actual names of these different herbs or adaptogens or any of that stuff mattered to them. It was like a whole different language. And so it wasn't until I talked about the transformation that happens and how, our body was able to combat that it actually made sense to people. And then they started buying it like crazy, right? Because everyone's stressed. And if, side note, I'll just shamelessly plug this. If you need it, send me a message on Instagram. I'll send you the link. The stuff is awesome. But I want to talk about, like, so back to the topic about, like, what's the transformation that you experience? And this can be either, like, whether it's a physical transformation, right? Like, if you help with skincare or health, right? It's that physical transformation. But a big thing, especially for us as women in business, like, who did you become in the process? Like, if you're a speaker or a coach or an author or, someone that is bringing someone through transformation, like, who did you become in the process is actually even more important than maybe the physical outcomes that tend to happen as a result of this internal outcome of who you became in the process. So I'm actually going to share with you, like, a little bit of, like, some of these really great ways to bring in this transformation or who you became in the process, or this epiphany that you had along the journey. Because a lot of times, especially on social media and even like on our websites and in copywriting, a lot of times that can, like, the people are just seeing, like, the end result, and they're seeing the achievement, but they're not there yet, right? Like, if you think of someone who they have 50 pounds to lose, or they're struggling to get clients in their business, or they have horrible, skin issues, or, they're not, they're trying to like get their first, real estate client, or whatever that might mean for you, insert you of where you're at compared to the result that you want. There's this gap, right? And so the transformation and who you become in the process and the result that these different tools or how-tos or processes or products or services that you have actually help create that bridge of where someone is compared to where they want to be. And so, what I love, like one of my favorite things that I love to use, right? Because a lot of times, again, like on social media and copywriting, website stuff, people are just seeing like the highlight reel. They're seeing like where you're at now, or even in speaking gigs. It's like there's this gap between who's in the audience compared to who is on stage. And a lot of times it's like, oh, like, how do I get there? How can I get that result? Like, man, like I have a desire to be on stage one day and to speak and to inspire, man, I have a desire to write a book one day. Like, but how do I get there? Because I'm here, like, I can't even find time between kids to like even like sit down and write, like 4 sentences, but I have this desire in my heart to write a book one day, right? So how do people get from where they are to where they want to go, or where they see you as an example, as a leader, as an influencer, as someone with a product or service that they want or need? How do we bridge that gap? And this is where a lot of really great epiphany bridge questions, or like what I like to call it, like the pathway of the process. This is where this comes in and is really, really helpful, because it helps bridge that gap for your potential clients. It helps bridge the gap for your audience, for those that are looking at your social media, for those that are reading your copywriting, for those that are, stalking you and like wondering if what you do or what you offer is for them. And one of the things that I love to say is, right, like, this is, here's my bio, or here's what I'm up to, right? Like, for me, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a founder, like, all this different stuff. But it's like, that can seem so far off for some people. And what I love to say is, but it wasn't always like that, right? It wasn't always this way. And I like to go back to the part of the journey where it was like I had these big hopes and dreams of writing a book and becoming an author. And I knew for a really long time that I had a story to tell, and that the hard things that I went through, of journeying through the loss of a child, and, of being bullied and being taken advantage of, and all these different things, these struggles, like I went through some stuff. But I also learned a lot of stuff along the way of how to grow in my confidence, and really how to, let go of limiting beliefs, and really how to take my mess and turn it into my message, and really how to create a business and a brand around that. And right, so I learned some things along the way, and the things that I went through, like, I really wanted to pass them on to other people. And I found out that I was called to be a communicator. I'm called to be a speaker. I'm called to be a voice. I'm called to be a writer. So that the things that I learn, or the things that I observe, these insights that I get, they're meant to be given away, right? Because freely we've given, or freely we receive, freely we give. And so like, it's these different stories and these things that I have learned, these lessons I've learned along the way. They're not for me to keep to myself. And so knowing that I wanted to be an author, taking those words that were rattling around in my head and actually getting them on paper and organizing them and working with an editor and, book cover and all this different stuff. And then the launch of the book and the marketing, right? So there's this journey of what it looked like to go from like having this dream in my heart, knowing that these things that I went through were not for me to keep, to then author, selling, thousands of books. And so what I love to say is, it wasn't always like that. I didn't know where to start when I was an author, before I was an author. I didn't know how to organize my thoughts. I didn't know how to organize, what stories would actually resonate with people. I didn't know if anyone would even read what I wrote, or how to get my book out there. And I had to learn some stuff along the way, right? Like, it wasn't always like how it is now. And so that's a really great way to be able to share some of your backstory, because it actually gives someone, they become interested in your journey, because they are able to find themselves along the way. They're able to find themselves, in some of the part, and maybe you too have gone through some stuff. And maybe you have learned some stuff along the way. And maybe you have a desire to be an author or a podcaster or a speaker one day too. You know that you're called to lead from the front of the room, but you're not quite sure how that works, or how that looks, or how the heck to put on an event, or where the heck to even start when it comes to writing a book or starting a podcast, right? And so when we see these people who, they meet us where we're at in our story, in the mess, but we're able to see where they're at, like see our future self in them, that backstory helps us see ourselves in their journey. So utilize that question of, or that statement of, it wasn't always like this, right? So maybe you struggled with skin issues, right? Whether it was, like acne or adult acne or really bad wrinkles or whatever it is, like, yeah, you can see my, my beautiful glowing skin on social media now, but it wasn't always like that, right? It wasn't always like this. And actually before I started using this stuff, I had it was like I had this or that, right? You start to describe different issues that you had, and they get to see you. Like, you meet your audience, you meet your potential customers in the middle of their pain, right? In the current, like in the middle of their mess, but you also offer them hope with your product or your service or your business or whatever it is that you offer, your coaching, into the what's next for them and into what it is that they actually want. The next one is, it's important to understand that there are internal struggles and there are external struggles. Okay, so I'll go back to the example of what I was just saying with like the skincare. Okay, so like someone could have like really bad adult acne or something like that. And I actually personally struggled with this through college with adult acne. And for me, it wasn't until I actually really did some detoxing and cleansing and cleaned up my diet that internally, because I tried a bunch of external, like topical, whatever, like you name it. I tried all the creams and all the rubs and all the stuff, but it didn't actually matter until I cleaned up my internal environment. And now I never get a pimple and have really great skin and it's amazing. But another random side note, but there's internal struggles and external struggles. Okay, so I'm going to use this example of if someone's in skincare, and right, there are the external struggles of obviously like how annoying adult acne can be, and what it looks like it's hard to cover up with makeup, or like maybe it's bad wrinkles, right? Like your makeup cakes into it, or you feel like, and then there's internal struggles of the lack of confidence, or, wanting to hide yourself, like not really wanting to take pictures, or being, like a little bit more embarrassed, and, having to, just having a low self-esteem because of what things look like on the outside, right? So there's these internal struggles and external struggles. So make sure that you mention both, because you meet people where they're at. Because that's a lot of times, like everyone knows like there are external struggles, but not many of us like to admit the internal struggles. And that's actually the part where, whether it's in how you're connecting with your audience online, or in your copywriting, or on your social media, or you're bringing them on the journey to help them understand that you are the person that can help them with with your product or service. A lot of times it's those internal struggles that are really going to let them know that you know how they feel. And a lot of times that's where it's like, man, like they've journeyed through what I have too. They can totally help me, because look at them now, right? It's those internal struggles. It's those internal conversations to where I can't tell you how many times where I have really dove into the internal struggles of something and shared about it. And I got vulnerable with what I had journeyed through. And that was where people really responded. And that was where they were like, I feel like you were in my head, like with what you were talking and what you were saying, like what you were thinking and how you were feeling. That's how I feel too. And there's something really, really powerful when we can meet someone, especially in the internal struggles. Okay. So remember those different things. And then think about things like, what's the problem that you hit, maybe like what you had done with your, all the different things that you had tried. So like I had shared, like with the adult acne that I struggled with in college, like I had tried all the creams, all the things, all the topical, all the scrubs, all the yada yada, right? Like I had tried all of this stuff, but it wasn't working, right? That's the wall that I kept hitting. And I'm sure that, if there's someone listening to this, or if you're an esthetician, like you're able to use this. And it's like, it wasn't until I changed, or maybe you're in nutrition, it wasn't until I changed my internal environment that started showing up on the outside, right? It wasn't until I cleaned up my diet and I did a lot more like detoxing, and I, ate a lot more organic food, and, balanced out my hormones and all this internal stuff that showed on the outside. Right? So I had to try something different. So what was the wall, like the wall kicking moment that you came up against, the ceiling that you came up against that got you to try something different? And that thing that you tried that was different was what got the result. Okay? And then from there, this new opportunity. It was this epiphany. It was this, oh my gosh, like this thing actually works, right? That you found out, you discovered this, like this was what I found, right? So we start with it wasn't always like this. Then we go from the internal and the external struggles of your backstory, then the wall kicking moment, the problem, and then the solution, like what you discovered along the way that actually worked. And then, like, what was the plan? Like, what was the process? What was the step-by-step pathway that got you to the result that you desired, right? The goal that you achieved, the product or the service. And then sometimes there's typically is a struggle along the way, right? Like it's not always easy to clean up your diet or to switch products or services, or, if you're a coach, it's not always easy to like learn new habits or to have someone hold you accountable or to, do this step by, to get into the nitty gritty of your business or to let go of limiting beliefs or whatever that might mean for you. There's a struggle, right? And we still meet people in the struggle. We don't let them, change isn't always just like farting sprinkles and, like glitter everywhere. Like change of process, change in habits, like that can be hard. And it's okay to talk about that. But still, there is an end result that as we conquered, as you triumphed over this thing, there is a victory, and it's like who you became in the process. Right? It was like, okay, like now I'm more confident. Now, like I, like makeup or not, like I can, like feel like $1,000,000 and, my skin and my smile light up a room and I feel amazing, right. And it's because I cleaned up my internal environment. So like there's a process, but like what is then the external and the internal result? Like who did you become in the process? Okay, so these are some really great ways to, again, like bridge that gap of what you can talk about. And this, I just gave you, like, you could do a whole series of, like a whole blog series, a whole social media series, a whole Instagram lives, a whole podcast series of like every single one. Create a whole, like, you write a book on this, like using this stuff. Like, here you go. Here's your outline for a ton of different stuff. When it comes to your product or your service or your story or whatever that might look like for you to be able to walk people through transformation with your product or your service or what it is that you're up to. Okay. So I hope that this helps, and I would actually love, I'm going to challenge you. If you know me, you've been here on the show a little bit, maybe you're new, but welcome. I'm going to challenge you because nothing, that cliche saying like nothing good happens in your comfort zone. So I'm also an action taker. So I'm also going to give you like actionable steps to like be able to take this, like what I just talked about. I'm not just here to like fill you with inspiration. Like I also want you to take applicable steps. There's a really great saying, like faith without works is dead, right? Like you can't like manifestation without action, like you're just like dreaming, right? Like, so it just is like, no, there has to be, we have to put boots on the ground. We have to put steps in place. You have to get into action after being infused and imparted with something. Okay. Cause here's the thing. I'm not going to ever I'm going to like impart what I've experienced and what I've walked through. Cause there's a lot of people out there, right? They teach what they know, which is great. Like we have a lot of business professors who have never owned a business and they're teaching people to have a business. And I'm like, that is the dumbest thing, right? Like, no, like learn from someone who can actually impart something to you, because we can teach what we know, but we can impart what we've experienced. Okay. And so as I am imparting like these tips to you, like over, like podcast audio waves, that know that something is being received by your heart, by your spirit, by your soul, by your brain, right? I'm not just out here like talking about it like some professor that has never owned a business that is teaching about business. Okay. But this is being imparted to you. And so as you're using these things, my challenge for you is I actually want you to literally like do an Instagram live, or to do a series of reels or TikToks or a Facebook live or wherever. Do people still use Facebook? I don't know. I feel like I do a little bit, but anyways, mostly on Instagram, but I actually want you to utilize some of these. And even if it's a snippet of your story, or you adjust your website, or you share about it on your social media, I want you to come tag me at Business and Bubbly on Instagram. And I want to read your story. I want to read part of this, whether it's part of your backstory of the, it wasn't always like this, or things weren't always like this, or maybe it was what your desires were, your internal, or the struggles, the internal and the external struggles, the wall kicking moment, the ceiling that you hit, what was the plan that you created? What was the pathway to be able to get out of that? What did you experience along the way? What were the hard things? What were the amazing things? And then what was the end result that you achieved, and who did you become in the process, internally and externally? And as you share these nuggets, I want you to come find me on Instagram at Business and Bubbly. You'll see it. Like, we're hanging out on the IG. And I would love to read your story. And if you tag me, and as you're doing it, then we want to share it out, because this is all about not only, if you know me, you've heard me say this, I'm obsessed with creating platforms that really elevate other women and give them the exposure that they need, that you need, to be seen, heard, known as the expert that you are, with the big things that are on your heart and what you're up to. Okay. So come hang out with me on Instagram, do this transformation process, and share it. Tag me. I want to read it. I want to see it. I'm going to be your biggest hype girl, your biggest fan. Girl, I got you. Our Business and Bubbly squad, we got you, girl. We want to hear all about it and cheer you on along the way, because we are in the arena with you. We are your biggest fans. We got your back. We are going to lift you up, elevate you, because you deserve to be seen, known, heard, and loved and belonged. And that's what this is all about. All right, my friend, have an incredible day. If this resonates, or if you think that another woman in business would find value in this, share this out. Because again, if you're in this, if you are in our community, if you are a part, or maybe you're new and you're not quite sure yet, but we got each other's backs. Okay. So here, this podcast episode alone could give someone incredible content to share and could help them level up multiple ways in their business. So if you think that this would be helpful, get your girls back, share this out with them. Okay. Because here we got each other's backs. All right, my friend, have an incredible day. As always, cheers, cheers, cheers to your success. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope it brought some value and some fun into your business and life. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and even share the episode with a fellow business bestie who you know will love it. It helps us continue to attract top-level guests and reach more and more women who are on their journey in business just like you. Remember that when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. Cheers to your success.